Christ is risen.
Lord is risen. Hallelujah.
Okay, so does anyone else see the humor in this at all, in this wonderful gospel that we have here today? No? These two guys racing to the tomb. One's faster than the other one. Peter's going first, but he's just not as quick as the beloved disciple, so the beloved disciple gets there first. They're racing to the tomb. I find that interesting. I find that fun. But who was there first? Who was there first? Right there before you there. This is not hard. It's all there. Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was there first. She went to, presumably, in this instance, she went, we believe, to weep at the grave. We all know how that feels. We know how it feels to go and sit at the grave and weep. Sometimes that is the only place where we can find consolation. And in all four of the Gospel stories, all four of the Gospels that view this amazing corner of life, this most amazing period in life, this most amazing set of events in life, that the Gospels that viewed it, say from the north and from the south and from the east and from the west, each of these Gospels are united by, well, certainly in terms of women, Mary Magdalene is present in all four Gospels. In Mark, it's Mary Magdalene and Mary, mother of James, and Salome. In Matthew, it's Mary Magdalene and somebody else. In Matthew and Luke, it's different. And in this story, we have Mary Magdalene. In all of the stories, in all that they have in common, let us never forget that the word that Christ Jesus was not in the tomb, that he was risen, came from the mouth of the first apostle. The first apostle, my brothers and sisters, was a woman. The first apostle was a woman. Yes, good for us. We finally have one for our team. Extraordinary. It's extraordinary. What's interesting to me too is when you read John's Gospel, I don't know whether you feel it or not, but when I read John's Gospel, it seems so calm. It seems so calm, so not big noise. There doesn't seem to be any firecrackers going off here. I mean, after all, the two men go to the tomb. They race each other to the tomb. And then Peter goes in, and then the beloved disciple goes in, and they have a look around, and they notice how beautifully wrapped and folded up the wrappings of Jesus are, which is in, well, if you think about another person that was recently raised in the Gospel of John, the story of Lazarus. Lazarus comes out of the tomb, he's all still wrapped in tight and all these things, but in this story, the wrappings of Jesus are all folded and ready and prepared and put nicely in their place. But the men go in and see these things and they go away. They went to their homes. They went to their homes. Jesus just, I need to tell you, Jesus rose today. What are we having for dinner? Okay, what did you make for breakfast? I'm really hungry. By the way, Jesus, he rose today. It just feels almost that calm, and that it's almost as if they knew something. It's almost as if they knew something that we didn't know. And I wonder what that was. I wonder what that was. This hymn that we sang, perfect choice. Who picked this hymn? Who picked this hymn that we did? Now the green, what is it? Now the green blade rises. Who picked that? Was that you? That was Reed. Perfect, Reed. Perfect. They understood One of the prime teachings of John's Gospel is that unless a seed die, it cannot grow. Unless a seed die and is buried, it cannot grow. You take a kernel of corn or a seed of wheat, you put it into the ground, it dies, and the next thing you know, from where that seed dies, a sprout comes forth, and on this grain, on this stalk, there are hundreds of grains. Hundreds of grains. Hundreds of grains. Oh, but Jim, I'm sorry, Jim, I just need to correct something you just said. Those of you who are visiting today don't know, but this happens quite often. The seed doesn't actually die, Jim. It germinates. It germinates. Oh. We know that. We understand that. But in 2,000 years ago, when a seed was planted, that seed died. That seed was really dead. And out of it comes new life. And there is resurrection. You know that game that, well, it's Monopoly. You all play Monopoly. Most of us have played Monopoly. Those of us of a certain generation play Monopoly. Pass and go. You get to go, and all of a sudden there's grace. You get a payday. Something happens at grace. Or you pick a card from Chance or Community Chess that says, advance to Reading Railroad. If you pass go, collect $200. It's almost like every time you get to go, every time you get to go, something wonderful happens. Kind of like that, isn't it? Every year when we look at resurrection, when we look at Easter, when we look at this time of year, it's kind of like grace comes. But Jim, life is not a game. And what we really need to do is earn real money. We need to pay for our families to live. We need to survive. We need to suffer through illness. We need to get through whatever it is that brings us to wherever we are. Resurrection is in that. Resurrection is in that. This past few weeks, I've been sitting with a group of people and we've been talking about faith. I will not share the personal stories because we said we wouldn't do that. But I will tell you that in the room within which we sat, we were all persons of faith. Some persons had new faith. Some persons had, we might even call it a little bit shaky faith. Some persons had faith which was rock solid and as hard as the top of this font. We were all different in our faith stories. We were all different in our understanding of how we are in relationship with each other and with God. We were all in different places. And yet the reality is that somewhere, sometime, the seed that was planted 2,000 years ago into this world, the seed that was planted 2,000 years ago into this world, burst forth from the ground, like those daffodils I'm beginning to see. And they became something beautiful. And they themselves yielded seed. And just like the creation story, how the plants yielded seed, and before you know it, the earth is full. Well, the earth isn't quite full yet of the story of Jesus and the faith that brings us here. The earth is not full yet of the love that Christ demands of us and expects of us. The earth is not full yet. But here we are at go. And this is a time when we think about it. And we remember. And we remember that the nurturing in this world demands that we express our faith in whatever way works for us. Now what really happened 2,000 years ago? What really happened? There were no photographic accounts. There were no newspaper article provisions of the story. There weren't. So maybe we need to be a little comfortable with the mystery of the exact events and what resurrection looks like. But what I need to know, and what I hope you will know, is that something happened that turned the world. Something happened that turned the world, and it turned it towards you. It turned it towards you. 2,000 years later, the fruit of that day, the fruit of that green rising growth, that amazing, beautiful, fecund, and rich growth manifested itself in the world and brought you here. Hallelujah. Christ is risen.
Lord is risen indeed.